Hey, I'm Jose Sanchez with MyFieldTrainer.com, your first place for agent training and resources. So this is the third part of our series on how to become a profitable agent, and today we're going to talk about tracking systems to keep track of your appointments. Now, there are a lot of tools out there. But let's face it, if you don't have a system and pattern in place where you can track who you're going to see on a daily basis, what happened on that appointment, and when you need to follow up with these people, eventually you're just going to be kind of wandering through the wilderness and you're just going to be lost. So there's a couple of great resources out there. One is by a company called Target Leads. They have an online lead management system that is bar none the best thing that's out there. You can get a link from them on our website. If you don't want to do the online system, you can do a manual system. This is actually what we grew up on, and it's called a daily activity report or WAR system. So go to the link, click on that, save it to your desktop, and we will go through this system in detail. Okay, now that you have this saved to your computer and opened up, let's go through our WAR system, our weekly activity report. So at the very top, you have a spot where you can put your name. If you work with a manager, their name there. This is for the date that these appointments are going to be run on. And it's also a good idea to put the days that you're not working, especially if you're working with an accountability partner. If you watch some of the previous videos on how to become a successful and profitable agent, one of the biggest things that you guys need is an accountability partner, someone that you can openly share your income goals with, and that you can openly share your schedule with, how many appointments that you want to run and what your sales goals are. That way the two of you can work hand in hand together to make sure that you hit those goals. So when we go through the form, the very first column says lead code. You want to start tracking where your appointments are coming from. So below there's a couple of options. Number one is list. If you purchase a list and that appointment came off of that list, you need to start recording that information so you know if you bought a list, if it was a good list that you're getting a lot of appointments from, or if it's just not really a great list and maybe you want to try and find a different list company to buy from. Number two is lead card. When you did a mailer out and you actually got the response card back, you want to put a number 2 for that. Number 3 is simply a referral. You went to see Mrs. Johnson and she referred you to Mrs. Clark. That's a referral. Number 4 is policy owner service, a POS. You're going to see an existing client and review their book of business. Number 5 is a referral from a contingent beneficiary. We'll go more into that. And the last one is IN introductions. We don't do door knocks. I'm not randomly knocking on people's doors looking up or trying to find business. But what I do is I will do introductions. I will go to a client's house or a potential client and introduce myself as their new benefits coordinator, their new insurance representative. I'm going to be the person that's in charge of overseeing your policies. The next column we have is appointment time. Now I'm going to give you a kind of a nugget here. Whenever you're booking appointments for yourself, never book on even numbers. If you want a lot of no-shows for appointments, book on even numbers. The mind works better when they have to remember double digits. So if I have a 9 o'clock appointment, I'm not going to book it for 9. I'll set it for 9:05 or 9:07. For some reason, those odd numbers just resonate better in the brain. The next column is lead ID. When you're doing a mailing through a company or if you're buying a list, both of those things actually have an ID number associated with them. You want to start logging that information down just so you can learn where your appointments are coming from to make sure that any marketing money that you're investing in your business, you're investing it in the avenues that's giving you the best return on investment. The next column we have a spot for the person's name, their address, and their whole zip code. The next column over, we have a spot for a cross street or an intersection and the person that you spoke with. I know everyone has GPS now, but it's a good way to shore up your appointments to make sure you don't have a lot of no-shows when you ask people, well, great, can you give me a cross street so I kind of have an idea of where you're at in town? And then always write down the person that you spoke with when you booked the appointment. So if I'm trying to book an appointment with Mr. Nichols and he's at the house, but I'm talking to his wife on the phone and she's relaying information back, I'm going to write his wife's name down as a person I spoke with. And then we have a column for phone number. I suggest getting a home phone and an alternate cell phone number, just so in case of an emergency and something, in case something happens, you have two ways to try and get a hold of this person. The next column is your result code, and we've actually broken this down into 3 different fields. So the very first one is a point result code. It goes number 1, number 2, and number 3. Number 1 is I did a presentation and I made a sale. And if you made a sale, you need to fill in the yearly annual premium of that sale in the next box here. Number 2 is you did a presentation but you did not make a sale. And we want to start tracking this to see if we can help you with your presentation rate. So the next column over gives you a couple of choices of why they didn't buy. So number 1 is they just couldn't afford it. Number 2, they said they had enough insurance. 3 is they wanted to think about it. And all of these things in later videos, we're going to go in more in depth on how you can overcome these objections. Number 4 is medical. They just medically didn't qualify. Number 5 is an other. You started to do a presentation, but something happened and it interrupted you. Maybe you had a family emergency or they had a family emergency. Something happened and you had to cut the presentation short. Number 6 is no checking or savings. Depending on the carriers that you're working with, there are certain carriers that will not advance you your commissions unless the premium is coming out automatically out of a checking or savings account. The third column for your result codes is if you did a presentation, or excuse me, if you were going to do a presentation and there wasn't one given. So you went to the house and it was a number 1, a no-show. You were there, the house was there, but no one else was there. Number 2 is a one-legger. You were there, you were supposed to meet with a husband and wife, and only one of the people were there, so you rescheduled to increase your odds of trying to close that appointment. Number 3 is late. So if you were running late because you were doing a sale in the prior house, that's always an okay reason to be late. If you were running late just because you have poor time management skills, that's not a good reason to be late. Number 4 is you couldn't find the house or the apartment. Number 5 is other. You were on your way to the appointment, but then you had car trouble and you had to call and reschedule. The last column is referrals collected. Like I said, when you're new in the business, the bulk of your business is actually going to be coming off of the mailings that you do or the lists that you buy. The longer you're in the insurance business, more and more of your business should be coming from referral business. And then if you need to write any explanations of, my car broke down, that's why I didn't make it to the appointment, you can write all that information over here. This last column is for intros. I always tell all of the agents, you should be out in the field an hour before your first appointment, and you really need to do a couple of introductions before your first appointment and after your last appointment. So set goals for yourself. For introductions, I want to do 6 introductions today. And then at the end, see how many of those introductions turned into appointments. So I'm going to scroll up here on this form and we'll take a look at some of the information that I filled out. So we'll have the lead code here, the appointment time, the actual where I got the lead from, and then the client's information, the cross street, the person I spoke with. S is if it's for a single individual, M is for married, their phone number. And as we go through this, so with my appointment with Jones Johnson, let's say it was a result code 1, I did a presentation, and it was a not sold. So I'm going to go down to the not sold. The reason that they didn't buy is they have enough insurance. So I'm going to put a 1 and then a actual 2. The nice thing is I got 3 different referrals from this client. The second appointment, we'll say this is Mary Apples. I did a number 1, I did a presentation. They did buy, the annual insurance premium was $500. And over in the notes section, I'm going to write that I sold a life insurance policy. Number 3, we'll say number 3 is a number 2, which means I did a presentation. Oops, I got to correct this. This should be a number 2 here. Did a presentation, didn't sell. Number 2, did a presentation, I didn't sell, and we'll say that they were a number 4. They medically just didn't qualify for any life insurance. And they didn't give me any referrals. And the last one here, a number 1, we'll say this one was a number 3. Number 3 is I didn't do a presentation, and we'll put that as a number 1. It was just a no-show. And then actually let's fill in this. I had an introduction with Kevin. And let's just say he lives at 123 First Street. And we'll say Orland. And he's off of First and 2nd. And I spoke with Kevin. And you get the idea. There's his phone number. All right. And with Kevin, let's say that I didn't do a presentation. And with him, we didn't do the presentation because it was a 5 and other and had a flat. And let me back up for a second. Anytime you guys have a 3 where you didn't do a presentation, always, always, always reschedule that appointment right then and there. So on the person that we had the flat with, we'll say we rescheduled for the very next day. So we'll just say this is 2/22. And that's going to be at the same time, so we'll go 5:05. And then for this person up here, that was a no-show. With your no-shows, you gave your commitment, you gave your word that you were actually going to go to this person's house. You kept your word, they didn't keep their word. So it is an open invitation for you to go back anytime you're back in that area. So with a no-show, I would actually suggest going back later that day or the very next day and, give an apology. Hey, I'm sorry, I was at your house. We had an appointment at 3:31 for me to go over your benefits. You weren't here. Maybe I made a mistake and wrote the time down wrong. I'm here now. Do you have time to see me, or when would be a better time for us to reschedule this appointment? And reschedule it right then and there. Let me go over why it's so important to keep an activity report of what you're doing. Some of you may be thinking, well, this seems like a lot of work. Why do I need to do this? And I'll tell you a story. A buddy of mine had his son in t-ball, and we were talking. He said, Jose, I can't go to the games anymore. And I'm like, well, how come? He's like, they don't keep score. If you don't keep score, what's the point in playing? You guys need to keep score of what you're doing out in the field to become a better agent. The reason it's so important for you guys to keep track of how you're doing out there is so that you can become a better agent. Now, this weekly activity report, this WAR system, will help you in 2 different ways. It'll actually help you become a better agent on the phone. It'll teach you where some of your shortcomings are when you're setting appointments. And it will help you become a better agent when you're in the field, because it will show you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. So what we use this for is we start looking at the data, we start looking at the information that you're collecting. And on this particular report, I can see, well, I set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had 5 appointments for this day. Out of the 5 appointments, I had 2 that were no-shows. or two that I made an appointment with that I didn't complete. Now, one was just technical error on my part. I don't know if if I did make it to the house, if I would have done the presentation or not. But what it shows me is that right now it's taking 5 appointments for me to do 1 sale. If I know how much my commission is off of this sale, because the more you track this, the more you're going to be able to come up with an average of, generally speaking, when I go into a home, when I do a presentation, I know I'm going to make roughly around this much commission. Well, right now, let's say if the commission off of this $500 life insurance was $400, I know that if I set 5 appointments in a day, I'm going to make $400 to help pay my bills. If my bills are $800, well, it's simple math. I need to see 10 people that day in order to pay my bills. The more you keep track of this, the more you start logging this information down, the more those numbers are actually going to become predictable. You know, most people get into insurance and then they get out of it because they feel that the income just isn't predictable. They want to go back to a 9-to-5 job where they have that steady Eddie paycheck. Well, the reason it's not predictable is because no one ever taught you how to track your progress, how to keep track of how you are running your business. This system will do that for you. Also, looking at this, we can say, well, out of the people that I did present, I had 1, 2, 3 presentations. I actually made 1 sale. So my appointment ratio is 5 to 1, but my actual presentation ratio is 3 to 1. And, you know, just to be honest, 3 presentations and making 1 sale is the average in the insurance industry. When you take all the guys that are superstars, all the guys that are not superstars, that is our running average. It takes 3 appointments in order to make 1 sale. The more you do this, when you start looking at the different result codes, when you meet with your manager or your mentor and he can start saying, well, all right, I see that you had a appointment here. It was a 2-2. The 2-2 is they have enough insurance. You've been getting a lot of those. So let's see if we can work on some rebuttals to solve that problem, to give you another off-ramp, so when someone says, hey, I want to think about it, you can start saying this. And let's see how that new phrase, how those results start panning out. Or when the appointment is a 3-1, you know, you went there was no presentation because it was a no-show. Hey, you're getting a lot of no-shows. Let me listen to what you're saying on the phone to see if we can pinpoint where in that conversation you're losing this person. Or what can we do? Can we start giving confirmation codes to make sure that more people are showing up on your appointments? Because your time is valuable. The more people you can see, the more effective you can become in these 2 areas. As far as when I set an appointment, I know this person is going to be there. And if they are there, I know if I see this many people, someone is going to buy something. Once you know those 2 numbers, financially you are going to be free. Because now everything is a simple math game. I know if it takes 5 appointments for me to make 1 sale and my commission is $800, well, if I want to make, you know, $1,600, I just double the amount of appointments. Or if I say, well, I know that if I do 3 presentations and 1 person makes, you know, buys from me, all I got to do is make sure I double the amount of presentations and I just double my income. You can use this day in and day out for all of your bills. So instead of thinking of, well, my mortgage is $1,500, we don't think that way anymore. We think, well, my mortgage is $1,500. I know I need to run 30 appointments this month in order to pay my mortgage. And you just start equating everything. My phone bill is this much. I need to see this many people. My phone bill is paid. My car note is this much. With the insurance, it's this much. I need to see this many people, and that's paid. And that's really how you start living your life. Everything is in a ratio to the amount of appointments and presentations that you do. And once you start getting that mindset, it's really freeing, because now when unexpected things happen in your life, you know, you get a flat tire, or the engine drops out of your car, it's not such a big deal, because now you know, well, heck, you know, a new engine's going to cost me $1,000. You know, I make $400 off of a sale. It takes 3 appointments to make a sale. So let's see, I got to set 5 people to make 1 sale. So 5 people will get me 400. 10 people gets me 800. 15 people gets me 15. All right, I just need to see 15 people and I can buy a brand new engine for my car. And boom, you're done. All right, I hope this information helped you guys out a lot. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email, shoot us a call, and we will be more than happy to answer your questions. If you're looking for training on a specific topic, shoot us those emails too, and we will do our best to create those webinars for you. All right, have a good one.